Welcome to Blether Together from Farmstrong Scotland. I'm Sarah Stephen. Thanks for being with us. Our chat this time is with Tommy Dale. He's from East Lothian and he's got his fingers and toes in an awful lot of businesses and initiatives. Just don't call him an entrepreneur.
I'm dyslexic. I don't even know how to spell entrepreneur.
Tommy's thinking is rooted in farming but spills out into social enterprise, conservation, charity, his one true love, Compost, and his business producing the only Scottish oat milk on the market.
We try and do good whilst making a pound, I suppose would be the way to do it.
He's been so generous in this chat, sharing the difficult lessons he learned when he had a serious mental breakdown a few years ago.
You know, one day just a black cloud came down that just overwhelmed me. It broke me mentally. It was unbelievable. It was just so intense.
He's a ball of energy. Here he comes, Tommy Dale. Tommy, welcome to the Farmstrong podcast. It is lovely to have you with us. I could see you cringing as we were trying to give you, an ID when you were talking there. So East Lothian entrepreneur doesn't work for you, does it?
Not really. I'm dyslexic. I don't even know how to spell entrepreneur.
Well, thank you for joining us. You've had a busy morning, have you?
Not too bad. It's been relaxing. I've been out with a friend, showing him around a farm along the road. Fraser's he's in a wheelchair, so he can't get out and about much himself. So we're on a mission to visit every farm in East Lothian. So every fortnight we go and see a different farmer and get them into Fraser's van and we interview them. So it's my turn to be interviewed. So it would seem.
What was your takeaway from this morning's tour?
Fresh set of eyes. So the lovely lady farmer and her husband, they've been down south for a long time. He's from down south. They've moved back to the family farm and they've sort of taken a look at the business and they're making lots of changes and they're doing great things really into the environment. They've got a social twist, getting folk onto the farm, helping plant hedges and we campsite. No, it was great.
Well, I'm sure Fraser loves his time with you and we'll come back to that, giving back later on in the chat. But I typically start these chats with a bit of a rapid fire question round. Are you up for that?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just one word answers, whatever comes to mind. If you were to be a sport in the Winter Olympics, which sport would it be?
Oh, the one that jumps off the big ski jump. Is this? I don't know what it's called.
Eddie the Eagle.
Eddie Eagle. I would be Eddie Eagle Mark II. Absolutely.
Eddie the Eagle Mark II. It all looks pretty scary when they all go up high and they jump off these things, doesn't it? Okay, what's the first thing you do in the morning?
Think about how I'm going to spend the day.
What is the favourite thing about your job?
The flexibility, the variation.
Would you rather always be underdressed or always be overdressed?
Oh, you've obviously never met me before. I'm an absolute scruff. So, yeah, underdressed.
One subject, that carries on to this question. One subject you would like to learn more about?
Compost.
What do you think people misunderstand about you?
They maybe think I'm cleverer than I am, or no, richer. They think I'm richer. People tell me you must be a millionaire all the time. I says, you've got no idea.
Okay.
And they don't.
Okay, well that's it. So you're not a millionaire.
No, I've got a lot of finance agreements.
Oh yeah, I think that's the case probably across the board when it comes to farming. Well, Tommy, well done. You're few. You can breathe a sigh of relief. It's over. So Tommy, I was looking at what you do. And I thought, well, rather than me list it, I thought it'd be better if you gave us a brief outline. If someone said, Tommy, what do you do? Just tell me a bit about what do you do?
We try and do good whilst making a pound, I suppose would be the way to do it. I mean, I'm an environmentalist at heart, so everything's about what we can do to sort of help the countryside and the environment, nature. And then, I'm a great believer that if nature's going to thrive, humanity needs to too. So we have a social twist. You can't expect the Hebridean folk to look after the corncrakes if they can't, heat their houses, or the African villagers to look after rhinos if they can't feed their children. So I'm just very interested in how nature and humanity get along with each other.
Where did that impetus come from?
I've always loved nature. Can remember being at primary school and that was just the only thing that's ever really interested me right the way through. And farming. I love farming.
So did you always know you were going to farm?
Well, I'm not really a farmer, I'm a composter. We dabble in a little bit of farming on the side, but I always wanted to be a farmer.
So tell me a bit about Tommy, the wee lad growing up. What was your childhood like?
Oh, it was amazing. Just we live at a place called Seacliff, which is just where the Firth of Forth meets the North Sea. My mum's got equine compulsive disorder, so ponies were a big part of life, galloping around ponies. And my dad's been involved in shellfish, so it was like catching lobsters off the rocks. So sort of a bit of a weird hybrid between fishing and farming. And then I got a chainsaw. I was 16, got into timber, so a lot of cutting trees down as well when I was a wee bit older. Sort of 17, and yeah, just great fun. Loved it. And now my kids are getting to grew up in the same place too.
Did you always have a clear vision, a clear path?
Not really. All I knew was that I wanted to be a farmer, and helping uncles on the farm. I went to agriculture college and then became a composter instead.
So tell me, come on, just expand on that a little bit. You're not, there's a lot. You're involved in a lot, and you've got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. So just tell us a little bit about what you're involved in.
So Fourth Resource Management, that's the business that pays my salary. And we're a resource management company based across southern Scotland. And that is mainly composting, but we also do a bit with aggregates and wood and biomass and different materials. And I started FRM when I was at college, at the Scottish Agricultural College. It was a college project back in 2002. And over the years, we've built up our Caledonian horticulture range of peat-free products. So that a lot of that's sold online. It's also sold through landscapers and a few little garden centres, but mainly through our online Caledonian horticulture website. And then alongside that, we've tried different things over the years. Some have been successful, lots of them haven't. Timber haulage, farm shops. I'm looking at one of our newer projects, although I say new, it's taken us 7 years to get this far, which is the mighty Bros oat milk, Scotland's only oat milk. And Scotland, as we all know, is famous for oats. And Bros is a modern twist on an old drink. Bros was made in farmhouses across Scotland for hundreds of years, back in the day of the horse, really, and the oxen. And when folk were needing to be hydrated in hot harvests, a Bros was made of water and oats and honey, the ice, and taken out to the farm workers. Oat milk is part of it. There's quite a lot of charitable stuff as well. We've got an environmental charity called Balanced Horizon. We've got various projects that form the pillars of our community that we're building around that work. We've got the Scottish Coastal Cleanup, where we're busy cleaning up all the coastline of Scotland. I'll just show you. I've got talking of props. My birds have never been on a podcast before. I do a lot of talks, and these birds have been all sorts of places, but they've never actually been on a podcast.
So got there?
They're a pair of guillemots.
Guillemots, yeah.
Yeah. So this guillemot here, sadly, got caught up in a face mask in COVID, a tartan reusable face mask, and was pulling it round the Firth of Forth like a parachute until it starved to death. And this one got caught up in some fishing net, and then it starved to death as well. And that's horrific. And the fact that's happening by the Bass Rock, which is one of David Attenborough's 12 wildlife wonders of the world, I thought, we can't have that. So we started the Scottish Coastal Cleanup with the intention of removing 70% of the detritus from around Scotland in 5 years, which it turns out was completely ridiculous because Scotland's got the longest coastline in Europe, and the rubbish on the west coast is far, far worse in many places than the east coast. So we might get it done in 50 years, but we're on the case. We've also got a lobster hatchery, Scotland's only lobster hatchery. So we put lots of little lobsters back into the sea, but we're now going to native oysters. So we're going to be rebuilding, hopefully we're working with WWF and Heriot University to rebuild the lost ancient oyster beds that were off the city of Edinburgh, the Firth of Forth. They were 20 miles long, up to 6 miles wide, and they were one of the first fisheries ever fished to extinction by man. So we're trying to get them back on the go, that's the biggie project. And there's a few other bits and pieces.
It sounds exhausting, to be honest, Tommy. Who sits alongside you? Who's sharing that vision with you?
Oh, the most incredible bunch of people. They're amazing. I was told a long time ago you should surround yourself by people that are much better at things than you are, and I think that's probably where I've been most successful, to be honest, because I'm really, I don't know how most things in what we do work. Yeah, I spend most of my time just picking up bits of rubbish and talking to folk, and everyone else just gets on with it, and things happen.
So what's your strength then?
Litter picking, I'm pretty good at that. Ideas, but not all good. Energy, plenty of energy.
If you're enjoying this episode of Blether Together, here are a few things you can do to help us out and to keep us growing into the future. First of all, share the podcast with friends or family you think might be interested. Word of mouth is the best tool for us to reach new listeners. So please, either share a link to the episode on social media or in your WhatsApp group. Or better still, in person, face to face. Let people know they can find us just by searching Farmstrong Scotland podcast online. Please also subscribe to the podcast in Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen. That way, you'll always get an update on your phone when new episodes come out. You could also connect and drop us a note on social media. We'd particularly welcome your thoughts on people we should speak to in future episodes of Blether Together. Who inspires you to think differently about well-being or has a story that you think deserves a wider airing? Please let us know. So, a quick thanks to NFU Mutual Charitable Trust for their continued support of Farmstrong Scotland and the Blether Together podcast. And now, back to today's chat. Well, I'm just thinking you've come across as you're very enthusiastic and very passionate. Are you a very upbeat person? I mean, are you always very on? You seem very, in the moment, or is that, do you have your off days as well?
Chronically optimistic about things. I don't think I have off days. No, sometimes you're a bit tired, but other than that, I'm all right.
And what of those jobs, which one are you most passionate about?
I don't honestly. I've not got a favourite. It's like asking someone if you've got a favourite child. It's no. I love oat milk, compost, native oysters equally.
I was looking. Well, the chocolate oat milk looks fantastic. I've got a massive sweet tooth, so that's the one I'd be taking off the shelf.
Oh, it is amazing. I've got a dangerous addiction to the stuff.
Is
It's
that the
brilliant.
last of your
It's made with
props?
oats from Aberdeenshire.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic! Well, that's
this
good.
yeah, yeah.
So, how do you switch off and wind down?
Take the dog out for a walk, maybe a little pick on the beach or in the woods. Do a bit with quite like growing trees, like tending young trees. What else?
I
Like
mean, do you think
rugby.
about your well-being? I mean, obviously, we this is what we're here to talk about well-being, emotional, physical. Do you think about it a lot?
I'm very aware of it. In 2013, I had an absolute mental breakdown through putting myself through far too much. And one day, just a black cloud came down that just overwhelmed me for about a month. And I just remember like literally crying for days, and it felt like everything was lost, and but actually, again, being surrounded by great people, loving family, I kind of got through that, and I realised that I need to be quite careful and not push myself. I just pushed myself far too hard, and was trying to do far too much, and burnt myself out. And so, you know, I learned a massive amount through that, and so I'm now, although I'm busy, I just make sure that I'm not doing too much.
Did that catch you? Must have caught. Well, I mean, I suppose you can't. Did you see it coming? Did it catch you unaware?
Yeah, completely. I would have, if you'd said to me in like 2012 that something like that might happen to you, I said, nah, I don't think so, not me. But there was a real lesson in that. So, yeah, and with young kids and, with lots of people depending on me with the businesses and everything else, got a responsibility not only to myself, but to everyone else, just to keep myself that, on the straight and narrow. So,
Would you mind sharing what caused that?
so I think a part of it was my good friend Johnny, who was captain of our rugby team, broke his neck playing rugby, and he recovered, well, to a degree in terms of got out of hospital, but he just couldn't use his limbs really, and he was getting more and more depressed. Social media was just coming on, and he was watching everyone else's lives on social media. And I said, look, Johnny, we need to get you doing something. So we started a social enterprise together called Growing Forth, so that we could create opportunities for people like Johnny and others, people recovering from drugs addiction or alcohol, people with learning difficulties, to contribute and feel they were involved with something. So we started that, and to try and preserve some of that last market gardening heritage that East Lothian was so famous for. So growing forth, and we built up a veg box scheme. I like the model. So with FRM, our model's good that we charge the councils and landscapers to bring us their garden cuttings. We then make it into a compost and we sell it back out the door. So we tried to find a model like that. So the idea was that we would charge the kitchens, the restaurants, and the hotels to take away their food waste, which is something my great granddad used to do. He used to have a swill run up in Edinburgh, pig farms on the edge of the city. So collect the food waste, feed it to pigs. So we were doing that, but it was going to anaerobic digesters. And then we were selling back the vegetables to the kitchens, which on paper sounds amazing, but chefs at the end of their shift generally just want to put an order in with a 24-hour food service company and get their carrots delivered, washed, clean, chopped up in a bag, whereas ours were wonky and covered in compost. And so they loved the concept, but they didn't really want to use the service. So it was struggling a bit. We took on the local farm shop so that we had a market, and thought, well, we could sell our compost there. Still involved the lobster, so we had like tanks selling our lobsters there as well. We had 3 different market gardens. One at the farm shop. We had some more converted polytunnels on a mushroom farm. It was just full of tomatoes and cucumbers, and we had a wall garden at Archfield that had been redone, and we were growing there. And it was just insane. Like, we had the most incredible bunch of people involved. A lot of them were volunteers, but as they spent more and more time with us, they deserved to get paid. So we started to pay them because they needed to be paid. And then economically, it just didn't have legs. And it was so stressful. And I was just running harder and harder, trying to keep it going because, oh, and then poor Johnny died with 2 young kids, passed away. So
So sorry
Johnny
to hear
passed
that, Tom.
away. Yeah, no, thank you. And the farm shop, oh God, we had free range hens, and the eggs were like proper pasture eggs, so they're always filthy. So like cleaning eggs. I remember paying my kids like I think it was 2p an egg to wash and dry eggs. I know you're maybe not meant to wash eggs, so maybe shouldn't say that. So yeah, it was awful. It was too much. And then one day just the black clouds just came down and consumed me. They broke me mentally, and it was unbelievable. It was just so intense, and yeah, as I say, I cried for a month, just like it's been raining for a month here. It was like me, but just tears.
How much of a challenge? I'm just wondering how much of a challenge it was to put your hand up and say, this is just too much. It's overwhelming.
Well, I think that was part of the problem. I didn't do that because I kept thinking. Until that point, I was a believer that you could pretty much achieve whatever you wanted just by trying harder. So I just kept trying harder and harder until it completely broke me. I was just mentally and physically exhausted. Um, so yeah, there wasn't a lot of thought went into it. It was just go, go, go until you break.
Tell me a bit about, just I'd love to know a bit about, obviously, acknowledgement and the recognition, right? This is, yeah, I'm in a bad place here. And then recovery, what did you do to recover?
So my partners in FRM, basically Alex and Ben, like just take a bit of time, and I suppose over a month, I slowly but surely sort of re-emerged from the darkness, and we had to make some pretty big decisions. Unfortunately, the social enterprise had to be shut down, and telling folk in wheelchairs or folk that have, you know, like got their first ever job because they've got quite severe learning difficulties or recovering from addictions, that they no longer have a job or a purpose was awful, but it had to be done. There was no other option. And we restructured the farm shop and eventually got shot of that. And yeah, just made the changes that needed to be made. And a lot of learning was 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 found in a short period of time. And I promised myself at that point that all the other businesses going forward would run for the triple bottom line, because we'd had to get a shot of that social enterprise. Because I thought, we've got the social enterprise, we've got the commercial businesses. So we just restructured it. And I just said, well, look, if I'm going to be involved in businesses, they're going to work for the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, not in any particular order, but just those three things are what we're about. And that's what we've tried to do ever since.
And do you carry those learnings, as you say, every day?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've probably got a tendency to forget a little bit, and then you push yourself like, oh, just calm down here. But we've tried a lot of things. A lot of things haven't worked, so I've 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 not got as many ideas as I used to, which is probably a good thing.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, they come and go, don't they? Tommy, they come and go. And, thinking about your young children and your family, what age and stage are they at?
So three girls, 16, 14, and 11, and they're amazing.
I bet they are. I bet they are. Chip off the old block. But you mentioned their social media, and I wonder, what is your approach to social media? What do you think of it? Do you use it, and how do you control it?
If you knew me, you would know that I do not use social media. I can't even turn the telly on in the house anymore. I have to get a child to put the rugby on for me, because there's like three remote controls. Like, my dad's 76 and he's totally embraced AI, and he gets it to write letters for him and all sorts of things. And I can't turn the telly on. My dad's all over social media. I've never had any social media. You know, I had to get someone to
Why?
set this computer up. Well, look, I just don't like technology. I should have been born in the Victorian era, probably. It's not for me.
And
Don't get me wrong, I can see the absolute upside of it. I mean, social media for us, business-wise, is fantastic. It's a huge thing for Caledonian horticulture, and for Balanced Horizon, the environmental community. It's so important for us.
well, I'm just thinking there. You mentioned about your, so sorry to hear about Johnny, but Johnny, you know, doom scrolling on social media, and then thinking about your girls and how do you sort of manage that within your household?
I don't think I really have any say. I mean, I thought I was going to be one of these dads that would not allow their daughters to go to school with a short skirt on. Completely overruled. Like, it's unbelievable. They just don't listen. Social media, Lorna, yeah, it's just, Lorna's good with that. I think they probably spend too much time on their phones, but thankfully that they've got their sports, and they got their grannies with the ponies, and they've got a lot going on. But I just feel for so many kids that aren't fortunate enough to have that, and if you've not got these other things, how you could just be sucked into that all the time, which is a terrible thought.
You've mentioned sport a couple of times. You mentioned rugby and your girls being sporty and horses. I mean, what do you do to keep, yourself fit?
Just keep active at work, I think. I don't I
Are you a
don't
gym goer?
no, I don't see the point in that. Like, why not? I did a again, this is probably reckless, so I shouldn't say it, but my cousins wanted to do a beerathon before Christmas. So we did a beerathon dressed as Santa Claus, where we
I'm
had
not
to
sure that
dr
counts, Tommy.
well, it was a lot of exercise in a day, wasn't it? It was 26 miles and 26 beers. It took us all day long, and my first toenail fell off last night. A lot of my toenails died that day. It was awful.
And
So,
I was
but
more thinking about your liver than your toenail.
yeah, yeah, they were just wee beers,
Oh, just
but
beavers.
still,
Oh, well, that's so that's relief as well, isn't it? It's being among friends and doing things and letting yourself go and letting your hair down sometimes is very cathartic.
exactly, exactly. So we've got an old boys team called the Puffin Gannets in North Berwick. So we've got a rugby match on Saturday, which I'm looking forward to. I've not played for a year because I got
Is that contact?
aye, yeah.
Okay, I'm
Um,
just thinking maybe at your age it might be in touch.
My
Sorry, forgive
age,
me.
my age. Oh dear. I still think I've got some games. I played. I had to stop a year ago because I got such a bad head knock playing for North Berwick, up against Dunfermline. And on the bus home, I realised that I'd been playing for the club 4 years longer than most of my teammates had been alive. I was 44, and they were like 18 to 22. So yeah, no, I'm getting a bit old for it, but I like it.
Well done you. Yeah, I mean, you've spoken a bit about your dad and your grandfather, and I know we spoke before we started recording about what they achieved in terms of they were very pioneering in East Lothian, and your dad sounds like embracing AI. How fantastic! 76, he's way ahead of you. It seems in terms of technology.
Oh
So it
yeah,
seems to be a real. I know you don't like the word entrepreneurial, but enterprising spirit within your family.
yeah, I would say so.
And
Yeah,
is that quite I wonder with that becomes I suppose comes the encouragement that they've done it, so you see them and you want to emulate that, but is there pressure there as well?
oh, no pressure. No, definitely not. I'm just, so lucky that my mum and dad have been so supportive at every turn right the way through. But there's definitely never been any pressure from anyone. I mean, you know, when I was 20 and started FRM, a lot of people said, "Look, come on, just go and get a job. You don't need to do this now." But I didn't listen, and they all came back and said they were sorry and they were wrong. But no.
And how do you approach that with your girls coming? I mean, are they interested in farming? How involved are they?
So the oldest Hannah, she is interested in animals, and might go and do veterinary nursing at uni. Yeah, so they're interested. I wouldn't say they're particularly interested in the composting side of things. Ellen, our youngest, she invested one day. She heard me saying that Bros was really tight for money. Which, like most businesses, it's the case a lot of the time. And she said, "Dad, I've got some savings. I could help you." So she went upstairs and she got all her money, came back down with £45 and
Oh,
invested it in Bros.
bless.
So
Bless
yeah,
her.
that was very sweet. So I think Ellen, she's also got an old a trailer that she's trying to turn into a pizza wagon to sell pizzas. Which I think, given she's 11, is pretty good.
I think that's pretty good. So that spirit's carrying on.
Yeah, hope so.
I mean, I think it's interesting, isn't it? What children, what you say and what they pick up as well, and how that can really affect them.
Yeah.
She's worrying about her dad, isn't she? Or and then the business.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's trying to make money.
Oh, I see. Okay, I think that's what we're all doing now. Right at the beginning of the chat, we spoke about Fraser. You explained that you'd been out with him this morning, and there seems to be a bit of a theme from the word "go" from your university early days of wanting to give back and help and be very much part of the community. That's that seems very important to you. And where do you think that comes from?
Uh, well, I think just, raised to know the difference between right and wrong, and it's not all about money. And I suppose, like people, I just, I don't know.
How rewarding is that for you?
Oh, very rewarding. I mean, I'm far more interested in FRM. Like, of course, the profit is crucial. Like, you ain't got a business unless you can keep the profit coming in. But, we're not just about that. And if you look at our team, a lot of the guys that are in the middle management now started with us as litter pickers when they're in their teens or early 20s. And things like that I just find brilliant. When you can see people progress, guys that are coming to you through, a training scheme, like, well, the folk at Bros, that a lot of the it was a kickstart scheme, and Josh, who's the MD at Bros, or CEO, he's American, he calls himself a CEO, but let's call him the managing director. He uh, took on all these youngsters that had never had jobs before because he got them paid for by the East Lothian Council. And I said, "Josh, surely you can't have all your staff from, with no experience." But it was unbelievable. I was so wrong. It worked amazingly. And Brendan and Tyler and the team there, they're doing so well, and they've been there since the start. So I think seeing that is, I see business as being able to be a force for good, and that's what I like.
If you could go back and start again, go back to young Tommy, university, would you?
Well, get another shot, knowing what I know now. How could you not? I mean, like, oh my word, what an opportunity that would be. But just, yeah, a lot of time and effort spent on things that were a complete waste of time. We just got rid of our haulage business, our timber haulage business. We've got quite a lot of lorries, got maybe 20 trucks in FRM, but we had a timber haulage business. And, you know, like 2009 till now, hauling logs, hundreds of tons of logs a day, and we couldn't make it work where we are, and so if I could miss out certain things, I'd be quite happy about that.
Tommy, you've been very open with us today, and the impression often is of farmers that they are closed books and they don't like to share because they don't like to show the weakness, say, or the chinks in the armour. Do you think that's getting better? Do you think farmers are getting better at being more open and sharing?
I'd like to think so, and I think it's important to, like so myself, that's why I'm quite open about it. Um, my brother, he has he's bipolar, and Robbie is fantastic at being able to talk about that as well. And I think both of us recognise the power in being able to share experience and just encourage others, because sadly, so many folk in the past and today, don't, and they try and keep it hidden, and then they don't get the support from their loved ones that maybe they might have got if they had been more open. So that's why I was happy to come on to the podcast and not just talk about the positives and what's gone well, but just talk about the challenges and what hasn't.
And I think that's the whole point of the podcast, is people like you sharing makes other people think they're not alone and that they can reach out to others and get help. And I just wonder, your sort of middle age, sometimes, as you said, sometimes things bear down on you. And I just wonder, with your brother, that must, I suppose, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I suppose that means that you're very open and very sensitive to when people are not coping.
Yeah, and that's maybe a factor. And having lost friends over the years to suicide and other, uh, uh, you know, mental health, the struggle with mental health, there's so much of it about. And we are collectively getting better at speaking about it. But hopefully, the aim of the game has to be through learning and through speaking, that in future we can try and get to a point where we can help folk before they get into such dark circumstances, and people like me can learn and listen to others, my younger Tommy, so that you don't just keep throwing yourself at something until you break. So going back to your question earlier, it's like if I change something, well, I would know where my breaking point is. So if I was doing this again, I wouldn't maybe have broken like that.
And how does what is your relationship with your brother like?
Oh, brilliant. Great. He's fantastic. I'm very proud of him. He had the idea for the oat milk. That's his project. Well, he's part of the team, but it was his idea.
And what, the most valuable lesson you've learned along the way?
Probably don't give up. There'll be a lot of folk that'll give up when, if they just kept ploughing on or made a few changes, might have made it. But the other side of that is knowing when to give up. Like for us, we're just coming out of agricultural contracting. I thought that was going to be the dream. Not going to be a proper full-time farmer, but we could be agricultural contractors. So with 2019, we brought my friend's contracting business into the fold. We built it up. We had lots of tractors, and we even had like a really big forage harvester, like a proper good one. And this was going to be the dream. Quite quickly turned out to be an absolute nightmare. When you started getting reports back of a video spied on TikTok of a trainee tractor driver racing another tractor driver down the M8 and putting it on TikTok live, and oh my God, just no end of issues. So I've got so much respect for agricultural contractors and timber hauliers and farm shop owners, Sarah. So because they're not easy gigs. Thank you very much, Sarah. It's been very nice speaking to you.
A huge thanks to Tommy Dale. And of course, you can find links to all of Tommy's projects and endeavours in the show notes for this episode. Find Farmstrong Scotland online, farmstrongscotland.org.uk. The How's It Going tool is a brilliant, easy access way to think about your mental well-being and what you might be able to do to find help if you need it. See you next time.